All right, welcome to the PTA Inspire series. Today I have Sam Moke. Moke, that's how you say it. Perfect. Awesome. So Sam is one of the students who has been in my coaching program, and he has a lot of things that he's going to talk about today that I really do believe is going to resonate with a lot of students who are in similar situations or feel like after multiple attempts that they can't pass this thing, which is totally false. You can definitely pass this thing. It's all about making sure you study the right things and don't give up. So I'm going to let Sam start telling us a little bit about his story. So Sam, I just want to hear a little bit about just why you decided to become a PTA and just a little bit of your journey thus far.
Well, thank you. Where am I going to start? Basically, when I was young, I wanted to be a doctor, this is back in the Congo. That's where you can tell I have a little bit of accent. I'm from Congo, Central Africa. So back in the Congo, I wanted to be a doctor, but I did not know if I was going to be like a surgeon. Am I going to be like a dentist or anything like that? And I kept that thought, but I knew one thing, and I loved sport. I used to play basketball, and I almost actually played in the as professional. In fact, I came here. We went to the NBA for a couple of things. I'd spent 12 days in DC in 2012, and then we went back. So I was really sport driven, And so when I moved to the US, I was living in Texas. I lived in Texas for 2 years. Then I moved to Wisconsin. And I was exposed to the programs, and in one of the program, it was physical therapy. The other one was sport medicine. So as I was thinking, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to choose between one of those. And I end up picking physical therapy assistant. So this is one of an amazing program that I picked, and all of us know it. And so that's basically how I end up becoming a PTA. And right now I'm a licensed PTA. So thanks to Bri.
I'm telling you, it was all you. Like, you had to put in the work, you had to show up. I mean, there's people who have all the resources in front of them and they don't do anything with it. It's really about becoming that person who's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that you get the result that you want. And Sam was like, I'm gonna become that person. I think when I met Sam, he was already that person. I didn't even realize about the basketball stuff. I did get where you're from, correct? Yeah. I was telling somebody, I was like, he's from Congo. And then I was like, is he from Congo? And then I was like second guessing myself, but I was like, I'm gonna die on this hill. And if I'm wrong, Sam's gonna come for me and be like, girl, what the heck? So wow, NBA stuff. I always learn new things about my students during these.
I actually have pictures with, NBA players like Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, this is when it was Oklahoma at that time, so it's crazy, When I was in the Congo, I was just thinking, I'll be in the NBA, I'll play, and, things changes.
That's crazy. That's insane. But I'm not doubting it at all, just based on the person that you are. Like, I'm like, yeah, Sam definitely did that. Like, I have no doubts in my mind. So some of the things that I know you said that you were struggling with along the way were, I know English not being your first language was one of the things that you felt like was really holding you back. But do you want to talk about some of the struggles that you had when you were studying?
Yes, English was one of the biggest one. Just remember this: I speak 3 languages, so it's English was not only my second, but my third language, and therefore it was in most cases, even people who speak English, because we have medical terminology, which is a different language than, even though you were born here, those are things that you have to learn. So in my cases, I had to learn the English first. I learned English, then I had to learn the meaning of it. Then I have to learn the meaning of it in meds terms, and I have to memorize all of that. I had some advantage because I spoke English before I came to the US, because, I lived in South Africa too. That's where I actually learned English. But the difference is, in South Africa, they don't really speak American English. They speak British. In some cases, they actually speak Xhosa, the KK language, and so they will mix things, like they won't say brother, they say buti, or sister, or they say sisi, So there's things that I had to change already in my English, so I can be able to function, in the level where people can understand me. And so when I started school, that was a bigger challenge, was that it was really the English part. But also I had one problem is I couldn't figure out the right thing to study. And the thing was, I knew I had the ability to study. I'm like, just show me the things I'm gonna study. However, what are the things that was so important, you know? And that was one of the time when we had the meeting. Then I was telling you, I'm like, I know I can put the work in, but the problem is I seems not to get why is this important, because when I'm studying, I'm feeling overwhelmed because I feel like I have to study everything. And once you study everything, you don't study anything. Because if everything is important, then nothing is important. And so that's basically was the problem that I had. And this has been happening as I was just going to my school year. Whenever I will miss things like, oh, what's the flank pen? And I'm like, what is it? You know, so simple things, even culture wise, because, you know, I never play baseball. They will give an example of a pitcher or something like that. Then I'm like, what is it? You know, I will play basketball. So those was one of the struggle that I had. And one more struggle was that whenever I was anxious. I'm not a fast learner, reader, because, you know, I have to translate all of these things. So once I know there's a timer, I'm just anxious because I'm like, oh, the time, you know, I'm like, oh, we got what, 75 seconds, something like that per question. So all of that's going in my mind. By the way, in one of my in one of my NPTE exam, I actually ran out of time because I had to go to pee. So I was just like, oh no, I gotta go. I couldn't focus, so I had to move. And one of the things that you helped me was that, you know, to feel confident saying, you know, one of the things you usually say is, I'm just in front of a computer, I'm just pushing buttons, you know. And so I was like, oh, I'm just putting buttons, you know, in front of the computer. And that's one of the big things that helped me.
That's awesome. And that's something that I tell students all the time, is that when you're sitting there, like in the exam room, you're starting to getting anxious. That's like, you know, the fight or flight response and everything. Like,
Yep.
You're not being chased by a bear. You're not about to, like, you know, get stabbed or something like that. You are clicking buttons on a computer, and it kind of tricks your brain to like activate your parasympathetic nervous system to calm you down. So that's what helped me. And it helps some people, and other people it's like, no, that doesn't help at all. But really, it's about finding what works best for you in those situations, and those like self-soothing techniques to get you back focused. And yes, take the breaks so then you can go to the bathroom. That's also another one.
Yep.
But that's I'm learning a lot about you, Sam. I'm learning a lot about you, Sam. This is good. The big thing that I've really noticed from you specifically that you said was that you were like, I'm a hard worker, but I'm not studying the right things. And that just kind of reminds me of that one analogy where it's just like you're trying to build a house. And if you have a hammer, it's a lot easier. But if you're trying to build it with a straw, it's not going to work, kind of thing. So it's like you can be as hard of a worker as you think you are, but unless you have the right tools in front of you, it's not going to work out. So I'm sure that's how you ended up finding my stuff, based off of a lot of my keywords, because it sounds like those are some things that helped you a lot. So how'd you end up finding PTA elevation?
Good. Good question, actually. I was surprised you on this one because I had it until now. Before I even talk about it, let me talk about, the hard work. You know, we always say work hard and all of that stuff, you know. There's many people who work hard but don't have the results. And from my experience, poverty is not lack of activity, it's lack of creativity, you know. And it's not because you work hard, you know, it's because you work smart, you know. And most of us, sometimes we just have the ability to work hard, but once you don't have a guidance, therefore you can just be doing like, you know, somebody who's running on a treadmill, you know, you're sweating, it looks like you're doing movement, but there's no progress. And so once you have a good coach on your side, this coach can help you make a progress. Just think about this. LeBron James has a coach. People who are really good at the skills, they still do have a coach. And so basically, one of my schoolmates, you know, actually there's two of my schoolmates in your programs. Now you're going to know them. So one, I didn't pass, you know, the first time I didn't pass, I was like, you know, I was so close. That's the problem too, because every time I was so close, I'm like, yeah, I'll just give it another swing. I'll just give it another try. So the first time I didn't pass, I tried again. The second time, me and my friend Julia Chase, this is actually my schoolmate, but it's also my partner during the lab. So that's my only partner during COVID, and so we were going to the same things. We're telling each other, this is, one time I just tell her, look, we just gotta keep going. We gotta keep going, and we were pushing each other. And so the following time, I felt she failed too, but she was enrolled in your program. I did not know that, And then I asked her, what are you doing? What are you planning on doing next? Because every time we failed, we came in and we were like, what are we going to do next? And so she said, actually, I have a course, blah, blah, blah. There's these courses that I'm taking, but I heard about you before because I was only just watching all of your YouTube, because there was one of our classmates that mentioned this lady who's a PT, who's a PTA, who's doing this, because most of the time people only know the PT who are doing it, because, there's more PT who are actually doing that. And so I was just watching your stuff. And I remember at the time I'm working at FedEx, I used to call it FedEx University, because I was listening to your stuff, as I'm working and I'm managing other jobs, and I was just listening. So then I went to Julia and I asked her, how much did you pay, for the class, for the course? And then she told me, okay, I'm on this. And then she told me how much she paid. I was like, I'm not going to pay that, I'm like, what are you going to pay this for? But then I remember this quote that says, if you think knowledge is expensive, try ignorance. I could have keep going being ignorant because I did not want it to pay. Remember, smart people write a check for the time. There's people who spend the time doing what you're trying to do. And now to perfect the craft, all you have to do is pay a little bit so you can save on the time of the things that they already did for you. It's like a book, it's basically taking decades to days. You can take a book where people wrote their entire life and you read in days. And the reason why you can do that, it's because you can write a check. You can write a check so you can get more knowledge. Because if you don't get more knowledge, you will always pay for what you don't know. And from my experience as a real estate investors, and, sometimes we have deals where you will have somebody who will come and then fix a property or fix something. And you're like, wow, this was fast. But that's what it is. You will always pay for what you don't know.
I mean, that is facts, guys. Just in general about life. I mean, I have multiple coaches that help me out. Like, I'm not just doing this alone. Like, I have people I turn to help me out to compress time, because time is the only asset you can never get back. So I'm sure there's people out there, and this isn't like a push or anything, but there are people out there who probably have spent thousands of dollars trying to pass this NPTE, and not just money is going down the drain, but it's your time. This is time that you can't get back. This is time you could be, working your dream job. This is time where, your significant other isn't getting mad at you for not like having your job or whatever. Like, time is so valuable. And once you start thinking of things that way, you're probably going to spend a lot more money for things to compress your time. That's really what it is. And I mean, after helping hundreds of students pass, I do think I have a good idea of how to do this and the scores that I've got on the boards. And a lot of it is just realizing that there are certain things that you can speed up the process on, and a lot of people think that they're paying for tips and tricks, but really it's just to make sure that you're focused. It's streamlining. It's getting super focused, because tips and tricks only get you so far. A streamlined guidance, laid out pathway with somebody holding your hand through the pathway, that's what people are truly paying for. And it's just to get their time back. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Sam, because Sam's got the entrepreneur mindset as well when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But it's true. And even for people who think that, oh, I can handle it on my own. Like, I personally, I'm gonna be just straight up here. I have been like struggling. Like, I let my weight go and everything. And I'm like, I need to, take care of my body and be healthy, because I'm in an acute care rotation right now. I see some of these people like dying from heart failure, and I don't want to be like that. So I'm like, how can I, make myself healthier? I have invested in a health coach to help me with nutrition and stuff like that. Even though I'm a PTA, I'm going to PT school, I know all the macros, I know what I'm supposed to do, but just having that accountability of somebody who's like there being like, hey, I see what you're doing all the time. Like, are you sticking to your plan? That's what gets people the results that they want. And
Yeah.
sorry, I had to go on a soapbox there, but
No, that's true.
You're
That's
saying
true.
so many great things, Sam. I really appreciate
By
the
the way,
things
I
that
was
you're
not
saying.
paid for doing this.
Yeah, no,
I'm
Sam was
not
not
paid.
endorsed for
There's no
saying this.
endorsement, but I'm just speaking through my heart. From my heart, because
Mhm.
there's a lot of people who are struggling. And sometimes people are struggling silently because they just don't know. And not knowing. They say my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And what we're seeing is there's a way, and you are providing that. You're providing the ability for people. Your coach is not something who's always better than you. It's somebody who sees what you don't see. Remember when I did my one of the tests, and then you asked me, what did you do? What could you do better? What are your plans for this? And once I talk to you, basically what I'm receiving or what I'm getting as a feedback is the things that I did not look up to, the things that I thought it was not that important. So you shine the light to the things that I don't see. That's where the coaches are outside of the game. You playing the game, they're outside because they can see what you don't see.
And they've seen people who've made the same mistake and how you've been able to
Correct.
correct it.
Yeah.
That's also the big thing. So, I mean, a lot of people, it's really the thing you said before, like how much, like you're gonna see how much ignorance costs.
Oh,
Like
yes.
that's gonna be a lot more expensive. But I'm really glad you're saying that, Sam, because I'm not even saying for people to invest in my courses. I'm saying find a way to invest in yourself. That's really what it is. Because if you want the results, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort, or maybe you need direction and guidance. You got to figure out the deficit. That's the big thing that I talk with people about, figuring out what's not going well and fixing it. And sometimes you don't know, and you might need someone else to help point it out for you, whether that be, either a coach, a mentor, a professor, somebody who's in your corner. And I always tell people, find somebody who you trust them, you respect them, and that whatever they've been telling you is making sense and it's working. Just someone you vibe with. That's really what it comes down to. You need to have somebody in your corner that like really supports you. That's what I try to be for my students. And if you can think of somebody who fits that category, please reach out to them, because that's going to help you get a long way. And also, if you guys are interested in learning Julia's story, she was another one of my students in my coaching program. She has her story on YouTube and on the podcast as well. So definitely listen to that, because she struggled with a lot of the same things that Sam did, but she approached things in a slightly different way that I think will help some other people. So besides just me being the coach to like point things out, what were like some of the big things that you felt like my stuff specifically like truly helped you with?
I think once you talk about, I think it's the style of studying, recognizing, where you are. If you're somebody who will just avoid the problem, or you're going to, I think you have terms that you call those. And once it's like an introspection, and that's what you talk about. Every time you go through the test, go back to it. Ask yourself, how did I feel during, when I was going through this? Was it a lack of knowledge? Was it a frustration? Was it a lack of academic knowledge? Was it, so once you introspect, then you can have better perception, And many times we just go through life without looking back, but we look back so we cannot make the mistake that we did make in the past. And so once you do an introspection, every time that you're doing it, you see, like me, it was just a process. I had to fail all of those times so I can find out like, oh, maybe what I know is not enough. Because sometimes you think that you just know, as you say, once you know what you don't know, you can work on it. But once you don't know what you don't know, it makes it harder, because you're like, oh, how am I going to even think about that? And so the mindset part of, recognizing, self, what's going on with myself, I get anxious when is, neuro, or when is musculoskeletal questions. Knowing those will help you so you can deal with it better. It's not that the feeling will go away, but it's that you can manage it, because the way you will talk, even the way you teach your content is just like, my sister talking to myself, and that's what makes it so appealing, because I'm like, okay, I don't feel like it's a teacher who's just pushing you to do things, but you feel like this is a friend who is suggesting you that. And once you see that way, then you're like, okay, I get it, and there's things that you're never gonna get from a teacher. That's where sometimes you're like, oh, my classmate actually explained that, yeah, because you can connect better with some people. And I believe that there's a lot of people that can connect better with the way that you present the materials.
I mean, you put out some great stuff, Sam, and a lot of what Sam's saying about the introspective stuff, I go over in my free masterclass webinar. So either you're listening to one and it's coming up at some point, or you can watch the replay of the last one. Go to ptaelevation.com/masterclass. You can watch the replay of whatever one we just had or come to the next one. But these are a lot of things that I like teach my students, is just like, when you're taking your practice test, like actually sit down and truly review the questions on your exam. Was it a knowledge gap? Did you just not know it? Did you get frustrated during it? Were you like sidetracked? Did you have to pee or something like that? Like maybe that's what happened. Honestly,
Yeah.
I am not gonna lie to you. That happens to a lot of people. Somebody was just like, I really felt like I was gonna throw up and it was like distracting me. I had a headache or something like that. Or like the other reason why is you read the question too fast. Like, I don't know how many people, like they've been like, I don't know what went wrong with this, blah, blah, blah. And I see they finished with like an hour and 30 minutes left. And I was just like, how quickly did you go through section 3 and 4? And they're like, I did really speed up a lot. And I was like, and look at how you did on those sections. And they're like, oh, like, there we go. And that's what Sam's talking about with that like third, like overarching, omniscient eye kind of watching in on the game. But these are a lot of things that I help my students out with. I mean, I'll tell you guys all the stuff that I do in, you know, subsequent podcasts and videos and whatnot. But I really just want students to understand that you might think the problem is like musculoskeletal when the problem is actually you keep skipping over important keywords. Like that might actually be what's going on with you, or you can't connect two concepts to each other because you're so used to regurgitating like how you did in school. Studying for the boards is not the same as studying for exams in school. You got to connect multiple concepts and make it all make sense. So I'm really glad that you mentioned those things, Sam, because I wanted to just let the audience know, like, I mean, whatever Sam says, I will just keep giving away free info for free because I know it'll help somebody. If like this can help one person pass the boards, I've done something right. Somebody might be listening to this and they're like, whatever. But if it can help one person, that's really what I want to help with. So let's talk about, Sam, the day when you opened the FSBPT website and you saw a pass circle and not a failed one. How did you feel?
Oh, wow. So what was I think I was taking a shower. Yeah, I was I know, right? I was actually I was about to take a shower. Yeah, I was about to take a shower. And so somehow, you know, most of us, sometimes we go with the phone in the, you know, that's a confession, right? Sometimes I go, you know, with my phone, you know, I think I was, you know, maybe brushing my teeth or something like that. So I had my phone with me and then I'm about to take a shower. Then you go bzz, bzz, bzz on the, you know, on the group. Then I just look at it. I saw pass, you know, the pictures, you know, people passes. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to tell my wife, you know, that the exams are, you know, the results are out. So I just yelled to her and I'm like, hey, babe, the results are out. I'm going to take a shower. We're going to look at it after. So I start taking a shower, you know, and then I start praising God. You know, I'm a religion person. So I was like, okay, let me praise the Lord right now, because if it's not right, then I already praised him, you know, but if it's good, then I'll praise him double, you know. So basically that's what I did. And I was singing and all of that. And I finished. So I came to the office. So here I came to the office. My wife was working her, you know, a desk is behind me. And so I told her, okay, let's pray. So I prayed, you know, I was like, oh, you know, whatever the results are, you know, may your glory, you know, take the glory, whatever, you know. And so then I opened it. Oh my God, I yelled so bad. I was yelling and, you know, we just, you know, hug each other. My daughter was there. I have a daughter, actually. I never told you that. But yeah, we were yelling, dancing. We were just praising the Lord. Look, I was really, really supported from my church, you know, and so I just look at the expectation. You know, some of us have families, we have people who look at us and they want us to do good. And one thing I find out is all of those expectations create kind of pressure. You're like, I don't want to tell them I failed again, you know. And so that was really, really a good time. It was a release. I was just like, I can't believe it. I went there, I refreshed the thing. I'm like, let me refresh it. And then he went back, pass. I'm like, yeah, pass. And I was very happy. And I called my family members. So basically in my family, we have a ritual, we actually sing a song when you have a good news. So you don't tell the good news right away. So you sing first, then they get excited. Then they tell you, what is it? What is it? And then you tell them the news. So that's what I did. So I called my parents, sing our song, and so that was the way we did it. It was amazing. Then I was like, I'm not gonna text you yet, So I was dragging my feet, and then I sent you the picture, and I was, just full of gratitude and thanks for that.
That's amazing. I love that, singing a song first before you give the good news, and then it like
Yeah.
hypes them up. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And yeah, I'm glad you're sharing your story and your truth as a religious man. I'm sure there's a lot of people who can identify with that, and it's just good. I really just want to showcase everybody's backgrounds on here and
Yes.
everything. And I want to just make sure people understand that, like, be you, be your truth. Be your truth. That's the really big thing. And I love that. I didn't even know, I don't think I knew you had a daughter either,
Yeah.
but no, I'm just learning things about Sam. Like, I talked to Sam like a lot, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, these are all like new things, but that's amazing. I love that. I love hearing the stories about like when people open up the website. It always makes me emotional because I'm just as excited as you guys. Like, I run around screaming as well. I'm pretty sure. Oh my gosh, when Egan passed, I like shouted to my whole family. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, you guys, like, I'm like updating my family on everybody. Like, they all know who everybody is. I'm like, oh my gosh,
That's
this person
nice.
passed and stuff. So my fam is always supporting people as well. And it's just really nice having a lot of people in your corner. And that's also another thing I think you touched on, the pressure from like people who like love and care about you. And then it changes from like a positive thing to almost a negative thing because you're like starting to freak out. It's like putting pressure. But I think for anybody who has failed before and they feel like they let their family down or something, look back on how your family reacted to that. And they probably were, trying to console you,
Correct.
comfort you, let you
Mm-hmm.
know like, hey, you got this next time. Like, we believe in you and everything. And even though it might feel like it's the worst thing in the world and you've let everybody down, if you really reflect on what their reactions were, they still believe in you. They still
Mm-hmm.
love you. You've already experienced the worst case scenario. All you got to do is get up and keep trying again. So for anybody who feels like it didn't go well and you're worried about that, trust me, your support system loves you regardless of your result, and they will be there to pick you up when you fall down, and they will be there to celebrate with you when you pass. And that's really what it comes down to.
Well said. That's actually true because, you might think, and they purely want you to do good, and all that pressure you're feeling is just yourself, basically. These people are behind you. They've been there since the beginning, the first time, the second time, or whatever, the number is. They will be there. They don't like you because of your performance, but because of who you are. Therefore, things won't change. So don't let the enemy just, go to your mind, start saying, you let people down. You're not. Success is not a destination, is a process.
I love that. That's perfect. And I think also, I think a lot of people struggle with that. They are their own biggest critic, and that in their mind, things are blown. I don't want to say blown out of proportion, but seem bigger and more of a deal than they think it is. And even with practice tests, like, some people are afraid to take a practice test because they're worried about failing it. I'm like, I just want you to take it and see where you're at. Like, just keep going, just keep moving forward. Just because I heard something the other day, just because you fail does not mean you're a failure.
Mm. Talk to me, sister.
Yes, that is all Alex Hormozy. If you guys want
Mhm.
to follow him, he's got a lot of great quotes that apply to pretty much everything. And though he's a business guy, but I just thought that was super impactful because it's true. A lot of people, they decide to slap this, thing on their forehead saying I'm a failure with just one minor setback. That's pretty much what it is. It's a setback. That's all it is. It's not a axe on the table. Like, even if you fail the board 6 times, there's probably a state you can appeal and move to and go there. Like, it's crazy. People have taken the boards like 13 times in certain states, which I just think is like way too much. Just do it on the first time. But anyways, regardless of where we're at, I just really want students to understand that you are not a failure just because of like like minor setback. Like you will be okay. You will get through. All it is just a lesson and opportunity to learn versus a new identity you've taken on for yourself. Like if I deem myself a failure every time like I lost playing like, I don't know, doing a game of bowling or something like that would be ridiculous if I went into every, you know, eval being like, oh my gosh, I'm such a failure, like I'm never going to be great or anything. Like that doesn't help. Like don't embody the failure mentality, because that's playing the victim. That's another way you can play the victim. So don't do that. Just realize it's an opportunity to learn. It might be opening the door to a different opportunity, maybe because you had to take the boards at a different time. When you get your license and you pass, your dream job opens up. Like it will, like everything will happen for a reason. It does suck. I'm not going to do that to decrease the amount of suckage that it is, but it's all good. It's going to all work out in the end. And the big thing is just, I know it's cliche and like cringy, but it's not about how many times you fall down. It's about how many times you get back up. And I will say that all day long, because that's really what it comes down to.
It's like so when I passed, I posted something on the Facebook one. If I remember, I think I said just to let you, I think it was an encouragement just to say that, you know, I went to this, you know, I went to the NPT 3 times and I passed on the 4th one. I don't think my employer will care, you know. They're not gonna care, you know. And from my experience, it's that everybody is going on his own line, you know. You're not racing against others, you know. There, you know, I see that in my life where I had people who was in advance in things that I would think that they were in advance, but yet they were not running against me. Therefore, I had to understand, look, you're not running against anybody. You are on your own line. And this is how life is, you know. Salvation is individual, you know. It's not about other people, or, you know, because one have a kid, or because one have a job, or because one have a house. You don't have to compare yourself to other people, but is it what you could have done better, you know? So you got to always look at yourself, because the problem is not other, but the problem is how you pursue, you know, how you look at yourself, how you deal with those problems. Because before you, there were people who fell, and after you, there will be people who will be failing. But, you know, how do you react to that?
Yes, it's all about how you react. That is the big thing, because that's the one thing you can control, your reaction to the situation. Can't control the situation itself. Can't control after you submit it. There's nothing else you can do. It's out of your control. You just gotta focus on what you can control. And that's really what I try to tell people, because if you're focusing on things outside of your control, that is wasted energy.
Yeah. Kobe Bryant said, control what you can control.
The Mamba mentality.
Mamba mentality, yes.
And that's why he's one of the GOATs. That's what's up. If you could give one piece of advice, and it doesn't have to be one, it can be like 2 or 3, but if you could give a piece of advice to any student who's preparing to take the NPTE, what advice would you give?
Good question. I think my advice would be untypical. You know, my first advice is fail fast. And, you know, and I'll explain why. You know, most of the time people are scared of trying. You know, you don't regret what you tried. You regret what you did not even do, you know. So you regret all the things that I wish I could have done this, you know. So just do it. Do it anyway, just like Nike, all right? Just do it, you know. So as far as the NPT, there is a way we can know if we're doing good or bad. So we can't just be going like swinging, you know, the hammer, or like swinging in the void. There's the NPT, how do you call it? What is the thing we bought? The retire pit. And, you know, so there's a pit. Basically, the pit tells you how you are doing. So if you're not doing good in the pit, so that means there's things that you need to fix. But once you fix everything, then just go do it, you know, and don't be afraid of, you know, of taking that step, because, you know, progress comes from taking a step. And it's true, you're going to get uncomfortable, but you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because life, it's not just about being comfortable. You know, there's no progress for people who are comfortable. So get used to be uncomfortable, because in the clinic, even though you have the degree and everything, sometimes you meet patient, you're like, I don't know what's going on here. But that's when you get a little bit uncomfortable, you go search, seek for help. And that's the same thing. You go to your PT and your PT can tell you suggestion. And in the process of going to PTA, you go to Bree, and Bree can tell you this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do, but you have to do it fast. The reason why you have to do it fast is the longer you take, you waste time. You don't want to waste time. You want to go. If you have to do it again, just go at it. But every time you do it, introspect. Don't just go at it. Just introspect. What can I do better? What can I do different? What can I not do anymore? Because I really think that life, there's nothing new in the life, right? There's nothing new. Therefore, sometimes once you don't learn from your experience, sometimes God just uses you so he can teach the next generation, because you never tried that, because you never want to. You get the degree, but you never went to get your NPT because you were scared. And I see for people who tend to push it, to the next one, 4 months after, 3 months after, just think about it this way. If you push it, you won't know if you were good at all. The exam that you're taking, the practice exam that you're taking gives you a way for you to know. So do the things that they're asking, apply yourself, and trust me, you're going to be all right. If I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It wasn't for me. And if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and because it's not easy, but it's worth it, so please don't beat yourself too much, and I know some of us are very severe, but also for the lazy ones, get up, do your stuff. It doesn't come from itself. Nobody has six-pack. You ask him, how do you get it? They say, oh, I was just born like that. There's things that you have to do to get success. Success doesn't come by chance. There's a process that you have to do. And in the process, maybe failure is part of it. So I just encourage you. I hope that, you really take this to heart. And I will see you, in the next one, that like Brie always says, see you in the next one. So see you at the top.
I'm not going to add anything else. That was awesome, Sam. That was amazing. So Sam, where can students find you if they want to connect with you or ask you any questions?
Well, I'm a real estate investor, and I'm also a PTA. So basically, I have a Instagram. So my GI is Real Estate Investor PTA. I realize that there's not a lot of real estate people that would, who are PTA, but yeah. So you just go on GI Real Estate Investor PTA. You find me there. On Facebook, I'm Samuel Moke. So SMUEL MOKE. That would be Facebook. And if you want a Gmail, it's also Real Estate Investor PTA.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, the people will reach out to you if they need you. And again, if anybody needs help from me, I am always one Instagram DM away. You can message me wherever, find me, ask for help. We are here to help you pass the NPTE. All right, guys, take care.
Let's go.